Hamen, welcome back. Thanks for being here
Hey, we're
again for
back.
another weekly episode.
Exciting
Ready
session.
to ready to unpack a little bit more about some AI. And I know we were talking earlier about a lot of the different strategies, the different tools. I've been researching a lot at the moment in terms of a lot of the AI developments at the moment, and it's so insane how fast this software is changing and changing the way that we are able to do business, especially. New business owners are able to get access to things and information, and speed, I guess, is the main thing that we never before used to have access to. So I know today we said we'll jump in and kind of unpack some of the ways that you might and I might kind of like start from scratch almost and start a business all over again using a lot of the benefits that we have now of AI. So
Yes, it's exciting times when you think about it. Like in the past, like launching a business was so complicated. Like I think like if I was to look at 10 years in the past, it's almost like you need to do so many things. Like you don't even know
mm,
like where to start. Like it's just so complicated. Right now with AI, you can really launch your business like within a day or 2 days, you're
mm,
already launching something and you're in the market. So for me, AI is almost like the speed after the internet. Like it's like when you got the internet, it was
yeah.
slow. Like right now, I know like, hey, it's fast, but in reality, AI is just pushing the speed of the internet. It's like much faster. And you're really looking at the best tools right now to launch a business. We've never been in a
Yeah.
position where we have so many resources to launch something. It's almost like so many resources and just no one is kind of leveraging anything. I think it's like
Mm.
golden times without people actually knowing about that.
I think the biggest blocker at the moment is people just it's almost like you don't know what to do. There's just so
Yes.
much. There's so much
So many
information. There's
things.
so much like yeah, it's like I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, what am I supposed to listen to? What am I supposed to start doing? It's like do I start using some of the image and video generation tools? Do I, get into the voice? Like what how do I start using this? And I think from what I've started to do myself, which has been really quite helpful as well, it's kind of like using a lot of the AI tools to teach me what's relevant for me, if that makes sense. So it's like
Yes.
I have 30 minutes a day
Like
to learn
start by
about
just using AI to optimize. Like what's the best?
exactly, exactly, yeah. So so let's jump in and kind of look at how you might start again from scratch, or how you might kind of like go from zero if you had no idea about the product, you had no idea about any of the particular like niches, you'd never started a business before. You're just like, all right, I really think that I want to do this e-commerce thing. I really think that using a lot of AI tools probably makes sense. I probably think it would be helpful in a lot of ways. So how do you think you'd go about kind of starting from scratch? What would be like one of the maybe first steps that you might have?
Yes, absolutely. So, like we do this in ecom capital all the time. Like we really like every week we're actually doing sessions where we literally just do this process over and over again to the point
Mm,
where if you're actually listening, like, hey, I'm part of ecom capital, you know what I'm saying because you already did this. We do it every time. So the process
yeah.
that you want to do when you're looking to launch is really looking at like what niche, like where should I actually start? And most of the time, if you look at it, like every person you probably have a passion, and passion just equal you spend some time doing something. So if
Mm,
I was looking at launching a business, ideally I want to pick a niche that I have an understanding on. They don't want to go into a
mm,
space where you have no idea why people are actually buying, because if that's the case you can still operate, but it's going to take you so much time to understand the avatar. It's almost like I don't think actually like I don't know, like I believe this is good, but I'm not sure they would actually buy in the end. It's like you don't have the
yeah.
belief because you're not the avatar. So I
Mm,
would really encourage any person without any idea, think about yourself. Like what are you actually buying right now? And what type of products would you actually be more, I would say, inclined to, pursue? And I will share with you, and we will do this like in this podcast, really a structure to find like if you don't have like an idea where to start, or to find those categories and pick the one that makes sense to you. And this would
mm,
be, I mentioned this and we mentioned this all the time in Ecom Capital calls. This will be really leveraging the market and adapting it to
mm,
you to get you that brand that's going to make the difference. And you have,
mm,
as we talked about in the past, like you're either going to be like you're a missionary or a mercenary. So like we're looking at, are
yeah.
you actually going to be in that category where you're pursuing because you believe, and you're actually building a business that's make you every day like you're more empowered. Like, hey, I'm so like I feel
Yeah.
empowered because I'm passionate about it. And I think we talked about this many
Just
times.
let's just unpack that a little bit for people, because like it's a very powerful concept in terms of the missionary versus the mercenary. I know Jeff Bezos talks about it a lot in terms of
Yes.
Amazon. They use it across the whole company. How do you understand that from your own perspective?
Yes, absolutely. It's like if you look at like if you're like let's say like on a mission, you're very dangerous because you believe in it. Like you're not doing
Mm,
this because of anything but a belief. And I see
mm,
it as the missionary overall, like coming in and positioning something because they believe in it. So Amazon, for example, if you look at their business, there was like a period where it was tough, like tough for him to operate, tough for him to
yeah.
really like I would say build this business. Everything didn't really align and things were like kind of difficult. So he was coming in and be like, hey, what do we believe in? We have these customers that we want to serve. And that's like our focus is one thing. Our one mission is to make our customers happy. And we're gonna make it, we're gonna deliver in 2 days. And he was like, if you talk to him in any times, he's just obsessed about it. That's my mission. Like I want to do this. Nothing else matters in the end if I can commit to this mission. And he was really believing it to the point where no business can actually compete with him because just on a mission to make this happen. And that's, I would say, kind of my view on it. It's like how committed are you in terms of solving that problem and how you focus on
Yeah.
it versus any other inputs. If you're kind of like, let's say, coming in like, hey, I want to make money, you're looking at all these things, you might be actually just coming in a different position, not necessarily the person that's on a mission to do this. So I see it more
Mm,
as like that. And particularly,
mm,
if I was to look at a business, and this is actually an example I've seen in the past, you're launching a restaurant, right? And you're just like launching this and you're like believing it and everything. If you focus on one thing that would make you money, so let's say I will do the best sandwich ever so that every person buying from me would come back again. My mission would be I'll make my customers satisfied from that sandwich to the highest degree. And that's my mission. Nothing else actually matters. I will
yeah.
be very
Yeah.
successful just because of that mission that I have. So I think about it like
Mm.
that.
I think it's such a it's such a powerful distinction, but it's also really challenging for people who are starting out because most of the time, like me included, I remember when I was first starting out, like truthfully, I was like, I'm really, really, really broke, and I really just want to make some money. Like genuinely, like, and if you had told me like, okay, Sasha, like, it's really important that you are a missionary, I'd be like, a what? A missionary? Like, bro, I have no money. You know what I mean? So like, I'm so much like of this belief now, especially as I've seen the effects of working from both of those different kind of like sides of the equation in terms of, sometimes if you're super mercenary focused, you get very narrow minded, you make big mistakes, you only listen to the data, you forget about your customers. It's very, very, very bad, I would say, in terms of the overarching principle of operating from that perspective. And then it also puts you in a position where, when things get challenging or when things get tough, it's like, oh, well, you're gonna, quit because you're not making money, or you're gonna stop doing the thing. And so, I can't, yeah, back you enough in terms of like that kind of concept overall. And I think it's probably the only. I think we've spoken about this a few times on this podcast as well. I think it's one of the only almost like competitive edges that a new founder
Yes.
can have when they come into a business because they're like, well, I don't really have any skills. I'm not really good at too many things at the moment. I'm going to learn, obviously, but I'm like, right now, I'm pretty bad at a lot of things. So it's like, what's my edge? And your edge is
Yes.
you.
Your edge is
And
that.
it's like what are the things, and this is so interesting. I think about for example, I think it was Josie, one of our clients, and she has the dry baby bibs, I think it's called
Yes.
drybaby.co. And she has taken her uniqueness, which is like her being a mum, which is not
Yes.
terribly unique, right? But she's also like a really unique individual in terms of she's really humorous, she's quite bold, she's quite courageous. And then she's like creating these TikTok videos with her like, spitting milk out of her mouth
Yes.
as like a grown
It's
woman,
actually did well.
right?
Like,
And
yes.
it's like
It's really surprising.
pretending to be a kid, and so like that right there, it's like that's her competitive moat. No one else
Yes.
can copy that. No one else has the courage or the balls to be like, I'm gonna sit on my couch and I'm gonna put milk in my mouth and I'm gonna
And you
spit
can
it
just
all
like
out. Or
spit it. Yes. That's actually that's what I see. Like you have if you really like let's say doing that mercenary, like I'm coming from profit, or like profit, I'm gonna chase trends, I'm gonna be like very much like on like doing this thing and then moving to the next level, you're not necessarily building a good product. And that's what actually Jeff Bezos
correct.
was kind of tackling. If you're really missionary, you're really gonna build better product. And that's what you
Mm,
want to focus on, and that's your edge. And against the others, they're not coming for that. They're coming just to chase things and just do things fast. And that's
Yeah.
why Amazon was so sustainable. And the missionary would win long term by default all the time. So
Mm,
it's almost like,
mm,
do you want the guarantee outcome, or do you want the outcome that's not necessarily guaranteed? And for me, it's like
yeah.
that's how I view it. And anything I do in general, I'm looking at, am I actually doing something because I care and I want to make it
Mm,
better, or is it
mm,
because I'm chasing trends? And if I'm chasing trends, I'm like, hey, that's
yeah.
not sustainable at all.
And I think the thing that the key, I guess, like identifying maybe factor of this is you can always tell what somebody's driven by, whether they're a missionary or a mercenary, by how long they talk. Like it's like if I'm talking in like the next month, the next week, the next 90 days, the next, quarter, it's like you're only seeing so short in front of you. Your runway, your vision is like very much in front of you. And so naturally you have to be very, mercenary driven. You're going to be like looking for the profits. You're thinking in this very small little like narrow box, as opposed to being like, okay, so what's the next 10 years? What's the next 25 years? What's the next 50 years look like? And you can always tell someone's clarity of vision. Andy Grove, he was known to, I've got all of his books next to me on the table here. I'm reading this at the moment, High Output Management. And I love the book so much. I keep sharing it with like every single person I
Yes.
have a meeting with.
Shares with me. I was like, hey, like
I think
exciting
I,
book,
I think I've
yes.
shared it with you a few times already. And he was known to, when he was founding Intel and building Intel, he had this like 30-year vision, and he was able to see where the company would be. He was able to see like the people, the offices, the technology, the systems, and it's like it became one of the most valuable companies in the world because of that kind of like clarity and that mission, rather than being like, let's just make the money, let's get the money in. So we digress a little bit into missionary versus mercenary.
Yes,
We came
actually
here.
an important subject because that's the start point. Like if I was to really start a business, then I need to put in the
Yeah,
right like structure. So why are we doing this? And just
yeah,
it's something I'm actually like always fascinated by. It's like I've never seen a person do something and focus on it and being, let's say, I would say around this mission for 5 years and not be very successful. Like
yeah,
this never
yeah,
happened. Like just five
yeah.
years commit to something, but really commit to a good product, commit to a good positioning in terms of the market, and you're rarely going to be like in a situation where you're not making money.
Yeah. Yeah, such a good point. So let's say, for example, we're in a position now, and I've adopted this I've adopted this
Hey,
missionary type position, right? I've
yes.
put aside my immediate need for greed or my immediate need to make money, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to adopt some of my unique behaviors and unique characteristics about myself, and I'm very excited to build a business
Yes.
or create something. How would you
Yes.
approach that? What would be your kind of like next
So
step?
our approach would be first like what niche, what space. So I want to actually give you guys like we're going to do this in the podcast, just share with you what kind of categories that I would look at and why, and how you can kind of find that, right away. Just if you're like lacking inspiration, I'll share this very quickly here. Just if I was really looking at like I have no idea about the categories. Amazon, the biggest e-commerce, and we're actually talking about Jeff Bezos, and that's like this is his company, right? And if you look at it, it's the biggest e-commerce store in the world, and they have also the most optimized search engine in terms of just purchases. And if you look at the categories, he's already putting on the side the categories that you can kind of look at in terms of your business. So I would
Mm,
really, if I'm really starting out, I'll look at all these categories. Let's say pet supplies. Let's say the baby space we talked about a little bit. So those are categories that I will look at, but I will see like what am I actually passionate about? And we mentioned passion equal time spent. So I'm really willing to pick something just I can spend some time doing this thing without necessarily feeling the pain. And that's going to be, I
mm,
think, an easy route. Now, I'll just show an example very quickly on two niches. Let's say I click on pet supplies. Amazon is going to give you by default all the subcategories, so you can actually niche more. And let's say we pick just randomly one here. Say click on birds. It's going to give you another subcategory, so you can actually go into really like birds, but not just birds. You can look at bird cages if you're really, let's say, passionate about the space. So just an example in terms of how you can segment your niche selection. But I will actually pick a bigger category. So let's say we go to baby as just in general, because we talked a little bit about that brand. And let's say if I
yeah.
was to click on it, you can see I have subcategories again in front of me. So your goal, if you're
Yep.
thinking, hey, I want to launch a business, I want to be on a mission, you have the biggest e-commerce store, you can actually see product and you can pick something. So let's say we want to look at the for moms category. We talked about this a little bit. You have all of these categories, and let's say maternity pillows would be one that I mention always in my calls. So I'm really using it
Yeah.
because I also mentioned this in my calls in the past. For any person that's actually listening to this, like, hey, we know this is actually something we talked about. So
Yeah.
this is a great category in my opinion, just because the margins are good in general, and it's a, I
Mm.
would say it's a very clear avatar if you're analyzing like the market. And I
Yeah.
would say this is how I would pick my niche. So let's say we're thinking what to pick, maternity pillows. That's the first
Mm.
step that I would say in terms of just our focus initially.
Mm. And so why would so just playing devil's advocate here because I think this is key as well. So someone listening, so it's like, okay, cool. So if I'm going to go and like pick a product or select something that's selling on Amazon and it's already getting sales there, it's already selling on there. Like, why would somebody come and buy from my store, or why would someone come and buy from my brand rather than
Yeah.
just like go and buy from Amazon for $30?
Yes, because what we're going to be doing here, because this is not like what I just mentioned is not to launch exactly and launch on Amazon FBA business. It's more of we want to get into something that's already in demand. And also I can kind of structure a little bit my thinking. So I can focus on one niche and kind of look at what's actually in the market. So level one would be let's identify a niche, because that's the first problem. I pick the niche, then I will start looking at products. And my structure most of the time is around actually ads in the market and looking at that to find what type of differentiation we can do.
Mm,
So the next thing, let's say I pick this and I'm like, hey, everyone can kind of compete with me because it's already sold on Amazon. We're going to change this product. We're actually going to make it
yeah,
better.
yeah.
Our goal is to see this product, look at the avatar, and then optimize to make it where it's a unique product and it's not in the market and it's solving a problem. And you're actually on that mission.
Mm, mm. And just to add to that, I think that it's very interesting. I'm just pulling up this website at the moment. It's like a chip Froyo. So it's super interesting. The difference or the level of change that you need to be able to make almost on a product to be able to kind of like make an impact. And I think sometimes people look at like a product that's already established or a product that's already kind of like operating, and it's like, oh, like that's like, how could I ever change that, or how could I ever make make that any different, and there's a brand at the moment, there's a couple of brands that come to mind at the moment. So the first one, while I'm finding this one right here, the first one, there was this juice bar, right, and this was like started over in Europe, right, and so what they did is they did something completely different, because typically speaking, what happens, people will have the juice bar, right? And the juice bar will have, um, you know, typically they'll have some like, good looking young girls working behind the bar. And what they found is they were like, okay, this is really like not working that well, because all of the good looking kind of like, females that work behind the juice bar, and they're providing juices and smoothies and protein shakes and all those good things. Um, they just attract like guys, and they just attract guys and more and more and more guys, right? So what happened was all of these dudes were like sitting in the juice bar all day, right? And you know yourself equally as anybody does. It's like if you go to a place and you're kind of like inundated by a whole bunch of like men that are sitting around in one place, like waiting for all the girls to stop working, or they're hitting on the girls. It's not a very comfortable environment, right? And so like what happened was all of the people in these typical bars were like, well, this is not really that good. I'm not really enjoying this too much, and so business would always kind of decline. And so this juice bar, I'm just trying to find the exact name of them at the moment. What they did is the complete opposite, right? And so what they did is they employed really good looking men in the bar, right? And really good
So
looking
they
men were sitting there, and they were making the juices, and they were super happy, and they were all like, I think they had like, their shirts off, and they had like their chest out, and they were wearing the aprons and stuff. And so naturally, the reverse started to happen. And so a lot of females were hanging around in the bar all day. And then naturally, what happened is more females would come because it was a great place to be. And then more guys would come, and more people would eventually come there. And this juice bar like completely blew up with like one small change, like one tiny change in like the model, which was like just the people who serve the product, which is like insane. And then another product, which is insane as well. I recently saw this. It's blowing up in Noosa, which is about probably 2 or 3 hours from me at the moment. And so what they did, I don't know if you know Yochi, the frozen yogurt kind of like product where you go to the kind of like self-serve bars and you let out the yogurt goes into the tub,
Yes.
and then all of the and you put all the toppings on it, and you get this massive like dopamine rush, and it's the most amazing thing ever, and you're like, oh, maybe I should get a little bit more of those things. And so what this company did, they're called, it's called, what is it called right here? It's called Chip and Mix in Noosa, right? And so what they did is they took the exact same concept, identical concept, and they, rather than spitting out yogurt, it spits out like hot chips and like sweet potato fries or like wedges or any of these types of things. And then you go to the station, right? And in the station, there's all like, baked beans, gravy, chicken, beef, guacamole, seasonings, cheese. And you can go and make this like loaded chip thing that you want for yourself in that same like self-serve situation. And the line was about 3, 4, 500 people long of people just sitting there and waiting to get access to this thing. And so it's like, the difference, it only needs to be a few percent. You know what I mean? It's like you tweak the avatar, you tweak the delivery, you tweak the way that it's being delivered. You take the same product and just replace yogurt with chips,
Yes.
which I
And then
I
you
would
have
say is
like
probably
you have a new thing.
it's even easier to do. Like chips is like yogurt has to be kept cold all the time and stuff. Chips is like you put those things in there and it's like it's a lot easier, you know. So I was fascinated by this, and I think it's never been easier. You know what I mean? And there's so many ideas that are out in the market right now that you can take yourself and have a look at. It's like people get so blocked and so stuck with like, oh, like I need to think from scratch. I need to come up with something from zero. Like what's a good idea? And it's like most of the good ideas, they're already being done, and you don't need to think about building anything from zero. You just need to, find something that's
Comment.
already in the market and then iterate on that, make some changes to it, make some adjustments to it. And it's like you've got such a tangible, real business that's like ready to actually like explode
Yes.
in the same way as some of the examples that I just mentioned there.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually this is amazing, like how you can leverage the market and what's already
Mm,
in there. Just if you really like spend the time, and as though I mentioned, like you need to pick something that you're passionate about because you need to be on that mission. If you're on a mission, you're going to spend the
mm,
time, you're going to try to understand how to make this better, and that's going to be the next thing. So if I was really again looking at like I'm launching a business, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, pick a space you understand. Like you should have like something that you're, I would say, interested in, or even you're buying like in the last 90 days. And I would look at that's something that I'm buying. It can be that I'm passionate about the fitness space. It can be like maternity. It's like whatever it is, look at it and focus on it to actually launch a business because you have some understanding of it and you spend some time. And the goal is to be on a mission, not necessarily, hey, I'm going to make some money in the next like 90 days or I'll quit. If I would tell you, do you want the guaranteed path or do you want the path where it's like just not guaranteed? It's like extremely low odds for you to succeed if you're not
yeah.
committed and you're not on a mission. That's how I view business in general.
Yeah. So let's maybe take what we've got to so far. Like let's say, all right, I've selected, this niche, which might be the maternity pillows. I'm thinking about this
Correct.
idea and I'm like, okay, this seems quite good. It's got good product margins. It looks quite sound. What would be the
So what
next
to do
step?
next?
How would like I guess I'm thinking about it from this perspective now, even just thinking about these two businesses that I mentioned. One's the juice bar and one is the
Yes.
chip factory where it lets out the chips, right? So it's like, okay, now how would I come up with the idea of going like, geez, like how could I take like, girls working behind the bar and turn them into good looking guys? How could I take smoothies and
Yes.
yogurt and turn it into hot chips? Like, what do you think the best process is around that?
So we need to start with like both of those situations. You mentioned some pain, and that first one you mentioned, hey, just like there's like a decline in business, but also you mentioned like a change in environment and like a pain, like there's some pain happening, something that was not working, and there is a fix for it, and that was a fix. So I'm thinking about any product online. Let's say we're thinking about that example of the maternity pillows. I need to understand like what is the problem that we're solving and how
Yeah.
can we actually look at that problem and find that solution, because if you don't know the problem, there's no solution. Like okay, it's like okay,
Mm,
I want to differentiate, I want to start something, but I don't know actually what to improve. You need to understand like what's the problem? Because if you think about it, and I think about this all the time, if you have a problem in your house, it's easy like a leak, right? And it's like something like leaking. You're gonna find ways to block that. You're gonna start
Yeah.
looking at like things. Hey, I want to just close this. Like you can take anything. You can take like a anything in reach to like solve this
Yeah.
problem. So I would think about it exactly like that. So I'll start looking at I need to understand the problem so that I can find those solutions that you just mentioned. So to do that, my best recommendation, and it's a free one, so you don't even have to pay for anything, just go to Meta Ad Library and just look at ads in the market because these are actually they are businesses running ads
Mm.
talking to that audience and they're trying to solve the problem that you're looking to solve. So the maternity pills, I'm 100% confident that there are some ads out there talking to that audience looking to convert them. So I will use what they have already and understand the message, almost like analyze it. And this is where AI is there. So you tell me, hey, I can look at an ad and I don't understand it. And you can probably look at it and tell me, hey, Hamen, I see those problems. I can really tackle them right away. And this is like, Sasha, you're very, like you have experience. I don't have it. Then I will
Yeah.
have like, there's a gap. But with AI, it's almost like we can see it the same way. I can put
Yes.
AI and we're
Yes.
going to analyze it and we're going to see it. So our goal would be if you're launching, you have no experience, use AI because you can trust that AI is good. So that's something I would really start with. And I would go to Meta Ad Library, search it, say the keyword maternity pills, put in Canada or Australia, whatever country you want to start with. And then you can look at the ad copy and analyze the ads. An example very quickly is really looking at this is Meta Ad Library. So for any person that's not listening, you're watching. And I would encourage you to also, after listening, watch because you're going to also learn
Yes.
a lot of things by looking at exactly what we're saying. So really looking at the Meta Ad Library, you can see the ads that are talking to that audience, talking to that avatar and they're trying to convert them. This is what they're doing. They want to make money. So you want to like,
Yeah.
hey, you have this problem, we're fixing it. But it's very similar to the first example you said. They're fixing it, but probably with the girls. So we're looking at, hey, how can we fix it with the guys, right? So looking at maybe this problem, we can analyze it a little bit differently. So what you want to do, you want to copy the ad copy here, put it in ChatGPT, or you can also use the landing page copy to really put AI in a position to analyze the avatar and tell you what's the main pain that's happening.
Mm.
So it's almost like translate to me. I don't have experience. AI, you're
Yes.
smarter. Tell me. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's fantastic. The other which I've done a lot of myself is also going and actually researching the reviews on, like, for example, Amazon, or the reviews on, for example, like, actual brands, and going into their like first page Google, looking at their Trustpilot, finding like Trustpilot or like Google reviews, and then capturing all their reviews as well. And then I'm just kind of like thinking this through right now, because as, say, for example, let's just hypothetically use this maternity pillow, for example, and let's say you take a combination of like reviews from Trustpilot from different brands, and you take reviews from Amazon, and you compile those into ChatGPT, and then you also take some ad copy from existing competitors, and you go, okay, so what type of avatar are these people reaching? What's the type of kind of like pain points they're targeting? And then you combine that with a lot of like the reviews that are currently being observed in the market. You can see gaps and trends,
Yes.
right? And so then you can kind of be like, okay, so if I wanted to iterate on this product, make it different, make it unique, make it stronger based on the reviews, and also make it different from the competitor, what would that look like? And so you get this kind of like output that's very different, and it's kind of like a new product. And the thing that I think is
And
is,
this
is
is
really fantastic is the AI. It gets more and more and more memory, it gets more and more intelligence, and it starts to kind of like increase in how well it knows you, right? And so one thing I've really started to do a lot at the moment is kind of like tailor that into my unique situation. So, okay, cool, great. Thanks for all these fantastic suggestions of like turn the pillow into this particular style pillow, turn the pillow into this particular style, use these patterns, use these things. And then some of the options might be like way out of your budget, way out of your price range, right? And then so it's like, okay, so if I had $3,000, $4,000 to start with in working capital, and I had 2 hours a week in time, or 5 hours a week in time, which one of these options would be most appropriate and have the highest likelihood of success? You know what I mean? And you can really
absolutely.
narrow things down more and more and more.
Yes. And keep in mind in ecom capital, like in the program, we actually have like a transaction cost that you can prepare like in terms of like your budget and it's adapted to your
Yes.
business. And I mentioned this to all the clients. If you don't have the budget to do this, let's say action or this differentiation, we don't have to do that. We actually have something adapted to your business. So you
Yes.
can be profitable, you can launch and be successful without having hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can just start with 3,000, 4,000. That's all right. But we just need to look at the right opportunities and be kind of strategizing. If I have a lack of capital, I need to be a good strategist. That's something that we
Yeah.
talk about all the time, and we help businesses using our experience and also access to everything we have to make sure that they don't take a risk they can't do. Because it might be a good
Mm,
opportunity. I can see it, hey, this actually great solution can make like billions, but do I have the capital? Do I have actually
yeah.
that's a strategy to get there before actually losing hope and not getting anything?
Mm. And I think the other aspect to that as well is also like um it just becomes a game of you you need to just do the work. You know what I mean? Because like let's say for example, like I tell you all the exact steps to do, or you Hammond, you tell all the exact steps to do, or the AI tells all the exact steps to do. It's like you need to just do it. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
you still need to
Like
do that. That's
it's
you need
it's
to be
insane
actionable.
how easy it is, and I think I maybe mentioned this as well. It's almost like because of how fast it is, and because of how quick it actually like processes certain things, you discredit how
Yes.
good it is, and you're like, oh, like
Like, no,
surely
I
this
don't want
can't
to do it. It's so
it
easy. It's
can't
like
be
one
that
second.
easy. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I
So
think that's the work. Like you need to really focus on the inputs.
let's go through those next steps then. So let's say, for example, all right, I've got a kind of a unique product. I've differentiated it with some of these kind of like reviews. I've got the reviews combined with some of the ad copy and also the actual specific avatar from the ad copy. My approach would be to, I mean, I've got a particular idea in mind in terms of what my next steps would be, but I'm curious to hear yours in terms of how you would approach that, what your next steps would be in terms of taking that and going to market.
So what we're gonna do is like again, I'm thinking about everything, but I compile the information, so I'll put it in ChatGPT. There's actually a prompt that we're gonna use. I'm not gonna share it. We might actually give it in the podcast link for you guys if you want to actually get those prompts that I will like that we're doing here. But this is something we share in the calls, like all the prompts we have and everything. But what I will do, I'll just show you the end like results and kind of what we look at when we do this. So I'll just share like let's say we did a compilation, we added that in ChatGPT, and then we're gonna get technically the avatar, and then you're going to see the pain points. And my goal would be these are the reasons that this audience is kind of looking to buy. This is a pain, and
Yeah.
my goal is how can I improve this product or improve those categories so that I can launch something. So if you're again on a mission, you want to think about your customer. You want to think about
Mm,
there
mm,
is some pain and they're going to pay me because of that. And it's not the price. Like I know that people are
yes,
like, hey, I'm going to make it cheaper. Never think about it's going to make it cheaper. That's going to be the thing that's going to make you money. It's going to be
correct.
what kind of pain I'm solving and how good is that like that type of positioning to the pain.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
So that's going
I
to be the
really
next
think that
level.
that is that's huge. And then in terms of like I think a lot about, for example, these couple of brands that I just mentioned, or these couple of businesses that I just mentioned in terms of the juice bar, and then also the chip kind of like shop that provides that kind of like frozen yogurt experience. And one of the most powerful things that both of those companies do and have done really well is they provide that experience that is so like Instagrammable. It's so TikTok worthy. It gives you this rush of dopamine. Like I don't know about you, but when I go to those frozen yogurt places, like I start to distribute some of that yogurt into my little bowl thing, and I'm like, ooh, no one's looking, just a little bit
Yes,
more.
I can add a little bit, right? A little bit more, just a
Right.
little bit.
And, and the dopamine in your brain is like firing, and you're like, oh my
Yes,
God, this is so epic. Like, and then you go to the
yes,
thing and you put the sweets on there and you get to the end, and then you feel like a bit of a naughty kid who's like got so many lollies in his pocket after like a school party or something. And it's like, oh my God. But the point I was trying to make there is that the content and the way that those products make people feel, I think is really, really, really key. So for me, in terms of like those next steps, I would be taking, for example, this maternity pillow, and I would have like niched this down into a very specific kind of like audience and made it very different, like really uniquely kind of like blended or formed that product into something that aligns with those comments and those pieces of feedback inside of the reviews. Also talks to what the competitors are doing and makes something uniquely different. And then I would really get straight into content development and content kind of like marketing specifically on like TikTok. So we're seeing so many of our clients at the moment just develop, fantastic followings, develop amazing audiences, and really start to build out reach and build out sales and build out this traction kind of vehicle with a completely like free platform. And I think it's particularly valuable simply because like when you're starting out, you're usually capital poor and then time rich, or maybe somewhat time poor as well, depends on the situation. So you have not that much money, but you might have a little bit of extra time, I would hope so. Or maybe you have not much
Yes.
money and no time, in which case you just need to work a little bit harder to kind of close the gap. And so a lot of what our current most successful clients are doing is they're just building these TikTok accounts. They're building out this kind of amazing following, and you can do this with the AI, right? So it's like you can go to a lot of your most common or most biggest competitors, for example, on YouTube, on TikTok, on, for example, Facebook ads. And some of the strategies that I've seen recently working incredibly well is like, let's say, for example, one of your competitors sells the same pillow, right? And let's say you go to their organic content. Let's say they've got a big, massive profile or something. I'll use a different example. We'll use my wife's old brand. Let's say, for example, one of her biggest competitors was a dog brand here in Australia, right? And let's just say, for example, they built their channels, they built their TikTok, they built their social media platforms, and they were actually quite big and they had quite a large amount of followers. Now, you can go and take that AI, scrape all of the comments out of all of, the pieces of content. You can look at like which pieces of content get the most type of engagement. You look at the type of engagement. Most of the time, the comments will tell you like what people want to see more of, particularly YouTube. Like if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably can go to like one of your other biggest followers on YouTube and biggest like heroes on YouTube, Alex Hormozy, for example, scroll into his comments, capture all the types of content that people are requesting, right? Take that content, right? Take that example, take that reference, take that direction, build some content around that. Or, for example, you can go onto their TikToks, download that TikTok, right? Grab that thing that's got, a million, 2 million views, put it into ChatGPT and ask it to create a script for you that would be appropriate for maternity pillows. And then you just
Yes.
go and create the same thing. So it's like all of these things that they make it that simple, they make it that quick, they make it that applicable to the point where it's just like all you need to do is just follow the instructions, and
Yes.
it's
Like
never been
strategy,
like
just do the actions.
it's so incredible, so incredible. Yeah, absolutely, super
Yeah.
super super exciting
Yeah,
times. Yeah.
I think if you're looking at like what to do after this call, it's like you need to be actionable, and there are so many things you need to learn. I know that there's like a lot of distraction in the market, but it's really,
Mm,
can I trust a system? Can I do this actionable plan that's gonna get me to that result that I want? And it's almost like you just need to do it. There's nothing else that you need to look at
mm,
beside, can I do it? And I think it's really
mm.
easy in the with the resources we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I probably will share, which is something that I've started to do myself, and I think I shared this with you, because, and I'm not sure if you're listening to this at the moment and you have maybe done this, amazing, fantastic, but I think it was about last week or maybe at the start of this week, ChatGPT specifically, it updated its memory. So its memory will now backdate the entirety of your whole conversation, right? Assuming you're on a paid plan and you're not on a free plan. And so something that's like tremendously valuable is a couple of things that I'm doing at the moment. So number one, asking ChatGPT, okay, so based on right the sum total of my entire conversation with you since starting, what would you say some of the biggest blind spots are about me? Right? The information that it gives, I'm like,
Yes.
whoa, like, are you serious? Like, really?
Yes, I was
It's like
actually offended. I was like, "Hey, that's too aggressive." I did this. I actually
it's
did
it's
like
it's
you tell me.
it's listening so closely, and it really 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 knows. And so I just think about that from the perspective of, okay, so where does this go to? Because I want to speed that process up because human beings are inherently kind of like forgetful. We remember the
Yes,
good things and we forget the bad things. And so
yes,
if you can kind of like get as much data about yourself, your behaviors, your thoughts, your actions, your results you're generating day to day into that machine, it can help you tremendously with decision making. So what I'm doing at the moment is And I think I mentioned this to you. So at the end of every single day, I will, ask the voice ChatGPT, and I'm like, hey, I'd like you to pretend as if you are interviewing me about my whole day today. I want you to know, I want to know about all the events I had in terms of all the calendar events. Did I do them? What was the effectiveness of those events? What was the outcomes of the events? Did it go according to plan? What was frustrating and stressful? And then it really goes into this whole entire plan of my day. And number one, it's like I feel like I've got a little therapy session at the end of the day, so it's quite helpful. Um,
Hey,
and then
free
step num
therapist.
step number two, like I'm building all this like inventory and this data back into the tool so that when I ask it, hey, what are some blockers? What are some things that are actually challenging me at the moment? It's like this is an issue. Fix this. Focus on this. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's so powerful actually optimizing with AI, which I know that a lot of people actually afraid of this, like giving AI more data. But I really did the same thing, and I've seen so many gaps in what I do in general. Like, hey, and when AI would give you like a feedback, you almost can't take it negatively, even if it's like, hey, that's really strong. Like it's like a really like you take it from a perspective of it's really giving you the actual like reality of things based on
Correct.
facts. So I really value that, and I think ChatGPT in the future would be more of like kind of a strategist helping you also segment some things because there's
Mm,
no emotion in it. When you remove the
yes.
emotion and you look at effectiveness, extremely effective. I know that the emotion would be something more challenging in the future for AI in terms of strategy because you need to look at the human, like the psychology and so on. But still, right now, in my opinion, you have a strong like therapist, strategist, marketer in AI.
It's very, very good. A couple of last things that I've been using as well, and I'm not sure if you've experimented with this, but especially with like when you're writing copy, writing scripts, writing any form of kind of like sales related content, one key kind of like message or one key like one liner that just really ratchets up the quality of what you get is just like if this was a 5 out of 10, show me what a 9 out of 10 would look like.
Yes.
Right. And so you
Yep.
just kind of like keep repeating that over and over and over again. And it just goes, oh, okay, good. Let me try again. Boom, boom, boom. And it just creates like a better and better and better version. So it's really, really, really powerful. Have you had much, have you experimented much or built many kind of GPTs yourself?
Yes, so actually, there's just the last example. I actually use it a lot. Like, give me like I would say, if this was 1 out of 10, what would be like? And this is actually a 10 out of 10. What would you place this problem as, or what would you do in terms of like solution and this ranking system? I think it's extremely advanced. Now, I
Mhm.
use ChatGPT a lot, so I'm actually leveraging AI for even like ideas I have in mind, how to kind of visualize them more, and then also decision making, how to do that. Because most of the time for me, decision making is the most important thing. So I'm actually using
Mm,
AI mainly. So any big decision, I'll need to run it by AI to really see it from different angles. And I think that's something that a lot of probably business owners are doing right now. So if you're really hesitating, like I'm not sure, should I commit to ecom, put in ecom perspective and your job perspective and put in like, is it actually worth pursuing? Probably AI would tell you, hey, you should really do ecom. And if you're really looking at like increasing your income and building a business versus putting money in and going to a party, right? So if you see those kind of gaps, AI would tell you don't party, put the money in the business. And
mm.
that's going to be like always kind of the direction with AI. So I really use it in terms of like decision making, business decision making, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. I think the GPT piece as well is really 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 valuable. I know that myself, like I've created a bunch of different like GPTs that are really helpful for like specifically for writing copy. And what I've done is I've uploaded thousands of pages of Eugene Schwartz's text, Eugene Schwartz's emails, David Ogilvy's kind of like copy, and just like really, really, really fed this thing like tremendous amounts of kind of data. And then it's been trained almost so that it can kind of like perform really high level and really like amazing kind of like sales related copy. And then so every single time that I need to, have copy written, I don't go into the main GPT or the main ChatGPT. I'm like, go into Sasha's ChatGPT that's specific for copy, use that one there, boom. And it always just like works like so much better, so much more specific. So I think it's almost like your little toolbox, your little like inventory system where you can kind of dip into and you're like, okay, so what am I doing today? What am I creating today? All right, this or this or this or this, whatever it is. And you have this little like toolbox you can grab, different things out of. And you're like, okay, fantastic, amazing. Boom, let's use the copywriter. Boom, let's use the whatever it might be, reviews, feedback. It might be add kind of like performance analyzer, like all these things can be just built and created by yourself. So it's insanely valuable, insanely valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's really like right now it's going to be like how can you use all these resources? Like everything you mentioned,
Mm,
how can I use it? And I think we have a lot of coaching session where we tackle how to do content, how to do things in terms of our program, but it's really looking at how can you leverage this? Because everything we mentioned right now, you can make a lot of money with this, but will you actually action? That's the next thing.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I know that we also spoke a little bit about next week's episode, what we're going to do.
Yes.
Are there any things maybe on this, Hammond, in terms of like, I guess for people listening, so it's like, how can they really like understand the brevity and the actual kind of like gravity of the situation in terms of like you really need to be paying attention to this, like you really need to be doing this. Are there any kind of like final thoughts or final ideas that you have?
So yeah, you need to really act like it feels like a fear right now is really not being in e-com in my opinion, because if you're not building your business, you're not using these resources, you're going to be really like left in my opinion. Like this is a time to learn, to master, and to be a good strategist. So if I was again looking at this podcast, like I'm not sure what to do, we shared a lot of
Mhm.
things, how to look at the market, pick a category, launch a business, but it's really about like what's the end game? Is it really to grow things fast, use the resources that we have right now, or completely ignore the resources and just like, hey, I'm good. I don't need this. I already know everything, and move
Mhm.
kind of to the other direction. My opinion right now, my fear would be not knowing things. So that's probably
Mhm.
like if I was to really have a fear, like I need to learn more. I need to see what's coming. I need to
Yeah.
prepare to be in this trend of AI and understand more how to leverage this tool.
And I think the thing is as well is like um to not do it now. It's like the train is moving now, right? And so it's like the train's going to move faster and faster and faster. And
Yes.
if you get onto it now, it's going to be easier as opposed to trying to like jump onto the train in like 6 months, 12
Later.
months, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, well, this is way too quick and it's
Need
way
to do
too
it.
advanced, and I'm really, really struggling. So it's like doing this now and actually like getting yourself in a position where you understand it. It's like this is probably the best time to be able to do it,
Yes.
because if you don't do it now, you'll think about it and you'll be like, okay, so geez, I really wish that I started to understand this to see how it could actually help me with my business 8 months ago, 8 months time, 10 months time, 12 months time, and then it's like there's so much lost opportunity. Yeah.
Yes. It's like actually every day is an opportunity. So technically you're losing every day if you're not really getting into pushing things into of AI particularly. So for me, it's like
Exactly.
every day you're missing every day. So you can't really
Exactly.
just keep that going. You're gonna have massive losses, not in terms of
And
like
I
right
think,
now
yeah,
things, but just in the future. Like there's an opportunity cost.
and I think the goal that I think we will be continuing to push into via this podcast, via the company, via the services, via everything that we do here is like, um, and I think this is a great position that you should have is just like how can I not necessarily just create like an e-commerce business, but how can I create like an AI first e-commerce business? I'm not sure if you saw that report, the Shopify CEO, so he mandated like a new question that got asked to all of his like HR and recruiting team, and it was like before you hire anybody, please like demonstrate to me why you can't continue to work your job and just do it with AI. Right? So it's like before you do anything, where can you just continue to exploit AI and maximize your output so we don't need to hire another person? And I think that approach is really, really valuable. It's like before you go and act, before you go and do, before you go and kind of like, take a certain action, it's like, okay, so how could I do this quicker? How can I do this more efficient using like this type of a system rather than just like the traditional method? And I think that's really where we are going to continue to push into. We're going to be investing a lot of money into the AI space over the coming kind of like, 6, 12, 18 months, and really building out a lot of kind of like strategy tools, systems. But most importantly, I think the key thing that I've seen as well is like the implementation piece is going to be really critical. It's like this is all the information, sure, but like, let's do it. We have to do this now. We have to do this together. We have to get the result. And so I think it's a tremendously interesting time ahead. Very, very exciting times.
Yes. So I think about like you need leverage in the market. And like right now, like in our coaching session, we're going over AI, how to use it, how to use ChatGPT, how to use also supplier tool that we can talk about in our next episode. It's really
Yes.
leveraging everything that's in the market. And I would think about overall like ecom capital position as we're gonna help you leverage these tools so that you can actually make more money. So it's almost like we're
Yeah.
looking at all the data and sharing with you how to strategize and use them to get faster outcome. So I see all the coaching sessions, everything we do daily, just as kind of a like derivative. We want to really get you faster using AI.
Mm, mm. Love it. Very good. Always tremendously valuable. And I hope that if you're listening to this on the podcast on Apple, or for example, what's the other one, iTunes, Apple iTunes or Spotify, listen to this, or perhaps watch this on actual YouTube, because all these episodes get placed on YouTube. You can actually watch this in full form. You can go through and actually see and observe all the screen sharing, everything else that happens in terms of the post production. So I think it's from an experience perspective, you'll have a much better kind of like overall engagement, and you'll be able to probably understand the concepts a little bit more. So especially with some of these more comprehensive, detailed episodes, the audio is fantastic, but I highly recommend you jumping over to YouTube and checking out the content on YouTube. I think the user experience is much, much, much better. Any last words, Hammond, or anything else that you have for our amazing listeners?
But yeah, just like you need to be actionable. So that's the thing. Like I always say it every time, every podcast, actionable. If you're not actionable, like if I was to look at every business that's extremely successful, they just do actions fast. They don't wait. The time that it just take like for them to make a decision, it's just much faster. So if you're actionable, you're fast, you're gonna make a lot of money. If it takes you
Mm,
1 year to make a decision to start an AI business or an e-commerce business or whatever business, like the people that are making money, they made that decision like the first minute, and you're doing it after a year. So there's like a gap. That's their edge.
mm. Yeah, love that. Fantastic. Well, look, as always, it's a pleasure having these conversations, Hammond. Very stimulating, and also just inspiring to understand the things that we are constantly doing, and the edges that we're kind of like constantly pushing to improve the lives of our clients and improve the results we can generate. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, feel free to leave a comment or leave us a review below. And super excited to meet you again next week, Hammond, and continue pushing
Yes.
along.
Excited. See you guys next time.
Thanks so much. See you, everybody.